What is up, guys? It's your boy Arzan back again with another awesome video. Today we're going to dive into something a little bit more obscure, I would call it. Today we're asking the question, what exactly happened to Boba Fett after the Battle of Geonosis? So as you all know, there is a large time gap between the Battle of Geonosis in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and the next time we see him in the Clone Wars trying to eliminate Mace Windu on his Venator. What exactly happened between those two times? This period is Boba Fett's true origin story. According to legends, Count Dooku actually made a promise that if anything happened to Jango Fett, he would look after Boba. But as expected from a guy of his stature, a real bad guy, a Sith Lord, we all know that that promise was never honored. As we all know, Boba Fett is one of two, besides Omega, of the two direct genetic replications of Jango Fett. Jango Fett personally taught him combat skills and most importantly the Mandalorian way of life. As pretty much Jango trusted nobody, and the only person he really trusted was his son, like his direct son, the exact version of himself that he trained to be better. Not only a better fighter and a better warrior, but a better man. As I mentioned earlier, the next chronological appearance of Boba Fett is in the Clone Wars. By then, he was already a bounty hunter. He already had a crew with him, boss Aurra Sing at the time. You know, he's planning revenge against Mace Windu, and he already seems pretty experienced. So what happened between Geonosis and those episodes? You know, the story is told, actually, in the Legends novel, Boba Fett Crossfire. After the Battle of Geonosis concluded, Boba Fett remained on Geonosis totally alone. He actually buried his father himself on the orange sands of Geonosis. He removed Jango's armor, placed his body inside, and built a very small, simple gravestone with the only thing written on it were his initials, JF. Decades later, around 40 ADY, Jango's remains were relocated to Mandalore, where they received a proper burial in his ancestral home. Finally, after the battle, with nowhere to go, Boba decided to go back to his home. But Kamino was no longer the home he remembered. It was full of clone troopers, Jedi, Republic officials, officers, things of that nature. The Kaminoans had little interest in Boba, and their relationship had always been with Jango, more of a business relationship, more of a you're the prototype type of relationship. But with Boba, they thought he was honestly a little bit peculiar. This was mentioned in Attack of the Clones, where he was quite literally called a subject of interest because it was considered weird by the Kaminoans for one to want an heir like that. So without Jango, Boba was almost fully ignored, and he was never really truly considered Kamino his home from this point forward. Jango expected to die. He was a man with many different contingency plans. Now, inside the Slave One, Boba discovered an instruction manual left by Jango, and the instructions directed him to find a man called Tyrannus, access hidden accounts and fortunes that Jango had secretly stored away and accumulated over his long bounty hunting career. Now, by now, Boba knew that Tyrannus and the Count were the same guy. Before Boba Fett could find Count Dooku, Dooku found Boba Fett first. He hired Aurra Sing, and Aurra tracked him down on Coruscant, and she captured him, delivered him to Count Dooku, and Dooku had established a hidden headquarters beneath Raxus Prime. As payment, Aurra Sing was given the Slave One. This explains how she was kind of in possession of the ship in the Clone Wars arc. Boba was imprisoned inside of Dooku's underground bunker for a very long time. So let's talk about the meaning behind Jango's instructions. Initially, it appears that Jango trusted Dooku. You know, they were kind of like buddy-buddy in the movie. You know, they were like sitting next to each other. He was protecting Dooku, and he entrusted him with his son, his hidden fortune, and his future. But that wasn't the real lesson. That's not really what was going on. Like I said, Jango was a very wary man, honestly only trustworthy of his son. So Jango never trusted Dooku. The true lesson was to never trust anyone. He expected Dooku to try and manipulate Boba and possibly even attempt to kill him. And if Boba survived, he would learn self-sufficiency, and he would learn to never depend on anyone except himself. Before Dooku could kill Boba, as he attempted to escape from Raxus Prime, the Republic and the Jedi launched an assault. Now, during the chaos, Boba escaped. However, he had no ship and he couldn't escape the planet. Eventually, by sheer luck, clone troopers ended up finding Boba Fett, and this became Boba's first real interaction with the clones. At first, their movements reminded him of Jango, their aim reminded him of Jango, their skills, and obviously their likeness, their face, their personalities, but the similarities ended there. Boba realized that despite what his father taught him, these clones, they lacked individuality, emotion, personality, pretty much anything that would make them really a person. He kind of viewed them as like unthinking droids, which kind of explains his disregard. He says to a clone that he says, "You're not my brother," because although they really are all brothers, he just doesn't see that similarity at this time, this early point in his life. He seems very, disinterested, disdained with these clones. Now, this is obviously a Legends novel, so the depiction of the clones throughout Legends is very different, but also this is the very beginning of the war as well. This is directly after the Battle of Geonosis, so a lot of this stuff about the clones does still remain true. Now, after being rescued, Boba agreed to live in an orphanage. Yes, you heard that right. Boba Fett lives in an orphanage on Bespin, of all places. Yes, Cloud City, all that. Now, during this time, he made friends, he met a Jedi Padawan, and he remembered Jango's teachings. Friends were weaknesses. Jango taught Boba that there was nobody to trust. These friends were definitely not your friends. Now, this is a very cynical way of viewing the world. I don't recommend this. This is cool. Everyone thinks this is cool, but it's not really kind of how you want to go about things. But this is what was instilled on Boba Fett. I mean, is Boba Fett really a man of many friends? Not really. Boba never stopped thinking about becoming a bounty hunter and following the footsteps of his father, because that's all he wanted to be. Boba Fett decides to hatch a plan. Boba wants to run away from this orphanage and find Aurra Sing. He wants to find the woman that brought him to Tyrannus and took his father's prized ship. Unbeknownst to Boba, Aurra Sing had actually started searching for him, because she knew that Boba possessed something that nobody else in the galaxy had. Before the Jedi could intercept Boba after his escape, Aurra got him first. Now, the Jedi attempted to pursue them. Aurra's experience as one of the galaxy's most dangerous bounty hunters preceded her at this time. Also, being force sensitive probably helped, but the bounty hunters allowed him to narrowly escape. Now, together, they flew away aboard the Slave One, finally placing Boba back in his father's line, back in his legacy. For Boba, stepping aboard the Slave One wasn't stepping a claim a vehicle, it was like coming home. Once they escaped, Aurra Sing decides to reveal to Boba Fett why she had rescued Boba. So she explains that years earlier, Jango had secretly hidden enormous amounts of credits throughout the galaxy. Now, these weren't just like regular bank accounts, these were highly secure vaults that could only be opened with somebody by his exact genetic code. Each vault required multiple layers of authentication, DNA verification, fingerprint scans, retinal scans, but because Boba was an unaltered clone, he possessed Jango's exact DNA. The security systems recognized him as Jango himself, not a bounty hunter, not a crime lord, not even Aurra Sing could access this with any amount of explosives or anything like that. So in the pursuit of this large wealth, Aurra proposed a partnership. She would use her experience to locate every single hidden cache, Boba would unlock them, and every credit would be divided equally between them. But Boba, as like I said, taught by his father, did not completely trust Aurra Sing. Honestly, she's probably one of the most untrustworthy looking individuals in all of the Star Wars lore. He realized that he would need someone experienced if he wanted to survive, more experienced, and Aurra had worked alongside Jango for years. She knew how bounty hunters operated, she understood the criminal underworld, and she could teach Boba things that his father no longer could, so Boba accepted this. With a large amount of money finally returned, Boba and Aurra began working together and collaborating, and Aurra became something of a mentor. This is still prevalent throughout the Clone Wars arcs. You can definitely tell that she is somewhat of a mentor towards him, despite kind of just pushing him around a little bit. Now, while she could never replace Jango, she continued teaching Boba the realities of bounty hunting. Together, they accepted contracts across the galaxy. Boba learned how to track targets, how to survive contracts, how to negotiate with criminal organizations, how to think several steps ahead of his enemies, all the basic things that you kind of need to know as a bounty hunter. And every single lesson pushed him closer to the hunter that audiences would know and love him for. And over time, they assembled a small team. And early partnerships would eventually evolve into the crew that we see in the Clone Wars. Like I said earlier, even though Jango died on Geonosis, his influence over Boba never disappeared. The contingency book aboard Slave One continued serving as Boba's guide. Rather than giving emotional advice, Jango left practical instructions. It's genuine, hard, real information. Every day contained another objective. Examples of this were locate specific resources or how to contact these underworld figures that are trusted. And one of the most important instructions of this entire manual was find Jabba the Hutt. Jabba the Hutt needs no introduction. Jango understood that if Boba wanted a future as a bounty hunter, this is exactly where to start. He needed to establish himself within the Hutt cartel, Jabba's criminal empire, and Jabba controlled enormous portions of the Outer Rim. Obviously, this is just known as Hutt space. We all know what that is. After months of training under Aurra Sing, and following his plans and just developing himself as an experienced hunter. The only obsession that remained was his hatred for Mace Windu, the man that yoinked his dad, you know what I mean? The desire for vengeance would lead directly into his appearance in the Clone Wars, and that is how the gap is bridged between the Battle of Geonosis and what we see in the Clone Wars. So this story is pieced together from several Legends novels, primarily the Boba Fett novels, obviously. So this is not, most of it comes from Crossfire. This is not canon, it's Legends. However, there's literally nothing in this besides maybe the behavior of the clones that contradicts canon timelines. So make with this what you will. I'm very picky and choosy with my Legends timeline stuff. This video took me a long time to make. I had to look through a lot of research. I don't own these books, so I had to go through PDFs and I had to write down a bunch of bullet points and stuff. So, you know, this was kind of a more fleshed out video for me. I tried to keep it condensed and quick. There's obviously deeper details that I could have gotten into, but generally the gist is you guys can kind of figure out, you know, what happened. But thank you guys so much for the recent support. I know I say this pretty much at the end of every video, but we have gone, so by the time my last essay video, I was at 263 subscribers. It has been a little over a week and we are at 340. So I thank you guys so much for the support. We have gotten 75 subscribers in the past 7 days. So that is absolutely awesome. I love you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys all tuning in. Please like and comment. And as always, my name is Aurra Sing. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.